Hi, this is Jim from Vaudevisuals. I'm here with Justin Elizabeth Sayre,
Hi,
and we're here in Williamsburg,
we are.
in the center of Brooklyn. Justin has got a new show coming up at LaMama, the legendary celebrated theater in Lower Manhattan, called My Beatnik Youth,
Yes,
and it's opening in March.
March 14th through the 24th.
Awesome. And
Yeah.
and tell us a little bit about how the show came about and what's your background and what inspired you to do a show about beatniks.
Oh, sure. Well, I've been a fan of Beatnik since I was a young kid. I read On the Road, I think about 14. Loved it and fell in love and fell down that whole rabbit hole of all those writers, Allen Ginsberg, Corso, and Burroughs, and Gary Snyder, and all of them. And this show is really about dealing with a framework of what that life was like. A culture that celebrated drugs and sex and running all over the country and finding a freedom and finding parts of your soul. And has a connotation right now of a lot of machismo and like these were guys, but there was also, these were guys that read Proust and, were much more creative and much more artistic than I think they're given a lot of credit for. So part of my journey with that was really identifying that, these weren't these macho guys to me, that would have intimidated me. These were guys that were talking about Shelley and Keats and reading Proust and discussing poetry and enlightenment. That taking that turn and really finding it for myself was important to the show, and I have such a love of the music that came out of this period, Charlie Parker, and I thought it would be a nice framework to deal with how is a young person dealing with what the image of the Beats are versus what they're actually about. How do they deal with this kind of image of, fast cars and sex and drugs and rock and roll, and actually get to a closer part where they're saying we're living in an age where the entire life of the planet can be ended with the push of a button. What does that mean for our souls? What does that mean for us as human beings? And the show is a response to that. The show talks about a young guy who gets into a bad car accident and goes into a mental ward for 30 days to kind of dry out and figure things out. And he does that with a framework and a love of the Beats, and goes in with one image of what the Beats are and comes out the other end with a different image of what that journey is for them and also what that journey is for himself. There's a lot of humor. It's all accompanied by music. Music of the period and improvised music. There's a jazz trio that accompanies the whole thing. And it kind of we're hoping it creates a sense of that kind of beat poetry storytelling event where it's the singer, quote unquote, the poet, and this band having an interaction, telling the story to an audience that is fully participant and present and real. And it uses the Beats as a framework through which to discuss that.
Nice.
This will be my third solo show at LaMama. And I've had a really lovely association with them for a long time. I've been a writer and performer now in New York for about 15 years. I got my start doing a comedy variety show that I wrote. We started at the Duplex and then had a long-time residency at Joe's Pub, where I'm still often at Joe's Pub doing my show The Meeting, which ran for about 10 years and now comes back every quarter. I've written, countless plays and written for television, written 4 books now.
Oh.
3 YA novels for Penguin, and then a book that came out last year called The Gay BCs, all about queer culture. And this is kind of another side of myself. I've been writing a lot of comedies and writing a lot of, kind of politically charged stuff, but this was really about, in some ways, even though it's a fictional story, it's about my own coming of age, and the Beatniks were such a big part of that.
Right.
They were the gateway that introduced me to people like Keats and Shelley and Blake and all those artists and eventually kind of moved me through and talking about people that made art through Warhol and Jackie Curtis and all that downtown world. I wouldn't have discovered that if I didn't discover the Beats, and I wouldn't have been as interested if I hadn't kind of had this gateway into like, oh, the lives we're living are poetic and deep and real, and the ways in which we mine that for work is important. So the show comes out of that for me in a big way.
So very, very poetic, very poetically inspired
Absolutely.
by the Beats, and then actually bringing it to a contemporary,
Yeah.
to a contemporary time, which is what we're living in now.
Yeah, because I think and for me that there's something about that that's really, the Beats seem more prescient now than they did even when I was young, because I think they're discussing, they were coming out of a period of mass conformity, and they were saying, we're breaking away from that.
Nice.
We're trying to find your own self. And I think even though we all have we have an image or an idea around like everything is sort of curated for our own enjoyment, we're all conforming in bigger ways. Everybody's on Instagram or on, TikTok or whatever, that we're kind of homogenizing in a different way, even though it feels like curation. And I think in that way, the Beats to me still represent, oh no, what is your road? What is your path through this?
That's true.
So it becomes, the show kind of became a part of a discussion about that for me.
I mean, it's kind of referential to your life.
Absolutely.
In a big way.
Yeah.
But you fictionalize it and make it into a character for a play.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So, looking forward to it.
Oh, thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Justin.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
This
Very
is
good.
great. Thank you.
Awesome. Very good, man. That's nice.
Oh, great.